Hey everyone, it's Happy Chime Noises. Today I have a League of Legends history lesson for you, because this player, named Blem, is playing Lee Sin top lane, and this might be a player that some of you recognize, as he is someone who's been playing Lee Sin top lane ever since this was back in 2015. He was known on the North American server, I believe, for being a challenger Lee Sin top player, one of the only ones on the server, probably only ones in the world at the time. You can see old Ravenous Hydra. This is his old stream highlights back when he has 60k followers on Twitch, and he recently came back to the game, still playing Lee Sin top lane with obviously a new strategy with all the new items, and he's managed to hit Master again, on his way to Grandmaster most likely. Pretty good win rate. Riot pretty much destroyed this character in lane with nerfs after it started getting picked in pro play, so we're gonna see how he still manages to make it work in top lane in Season 12. But first, let me tell you about Z-League, a tournament website that has League of Legends, where you can play tournaments by yourself or with friends in skill-based matchmaking. Lots of the tournaments are free and even take place inside normal League of Legends games, so this one, for example, win as many matches as you can in ranked before losing 2 matches, even for ARAM, something I love playing, normals. You just gotta win games that you'd be playing anyway, and you can get prizes for them. There are a ton of tournaments coming up, lots of them are free, so you can join without paying anything. We are going to join this ARAM tournament right now, and I'm going to show you how it works. That's it, all you have to do is queue up for a game, and it'll be counted by the website. So it's just fun to practice, you can play any strategy you want, even off meta. There's not really any pressure, because you're just playing your own normal games. So you can play to improve, to learn things, and you never have to play against really high ranked opponents, since it's based on your own MMR in-game. Check out Z-League at the link in the description, and give it a try while you're playing League. Here we are in-game, level 1, Lee Sin camping in Tribush, catching this Lilia with his Q up. It's an old strategy, gets a really good level 1, free Q out of the bush, procs his Conqueror, has Q again to poke if he wants it. Everybody's losing CS, but Lilia's taking more damage, so it's not too bad. So level 1, he's a lot stronger than this Lilia, since they're both squishy. He's playing with Ignite Lee Sin top, something he's done for years. He's never played with teleport as far as I can remember, always going for solo kills. I think it's honestly it's been the best strategy for a few years in my opinion, top lane, and it's only gotten better with the recent dragon buffs. Even if you do have teleports, you're still not really going to be that useful. It's better to get a huge lead top lane. He's already made this Lilia back. Lilia also playing with Ignite. I mean, you can see the risk. You can see the benefits and the risks of playing Ignite in this specific game. Enemy Lilia has Ignite, Lee Sin has Ignite. He gets a really good trade early on. Lilia will die if she stays around, so has to base, has no TP to get back. If you're the one who's aggressing in the lane, you should take Ignite. And if you're the one who's playing more passively and is at risk of dying, then teleport will be much better. Always hard to predict if it's going to be Lee Sin top though. Could just as likely be Wukong top. That's just one of the first advantages of picking Lee Sin top. You get a surprise matchup. Lee Sin's really good into squishy champions top lane. He's okay into tanks. The reason he got so good in pro play is because of his E trading. It got buffed at one point, the E damage, and in lots of matchups it can still work out quite well. All you really need to do is walk up towards the wave, and the enemy will get hit by the E AoE damage of the Tempest, and so you can sort of get quite free trades. You can also W forwards onto a minion, then press E, and you'll still be inside all of your minions, so you're safe, and the enemy will just get hit by it. You don't have to land any skill shots or anything, so that was why he became so good top lane. Really good, like, bruiser tank back either 1 or 2 worlds ago, and ever since then, Riot gave him quite a big nerf for laning phase, and so he was no longer quite as good, but it doesn't stop one-tricks like Blem from playing it and having some great success, so we're gonna see how he still manages to do it. You can see in this game, he's got a huge lead already just from minion management, and getting a really good trades early on with his Q, so if you can chunk the enemy out and control lane, that's great. He can quite likely go for a solo kill, and I think that's why Lilia's playing so slow. If Lilia goes way too aggressive, then I think Lee Sin kills her here. I think that's why it's been such an easy lane for him so far. Lee Sin up levels already. I mean, this Lilia is kind of running it by doing this. I guess she thinks that she has the movement speed to get away if she needs to. I'm not sure that's correct. Okay, Lee Sin kind of runs out of damage halfway through the play. Cooldowns are back up though, and Lilia's are not. Q misses, but Ignite is fine, flashes forwards, doesn't have a ward hop, doesn't need it. That's a solo kill, very free. Dora and shield, not what you'd expect from a full aggressive Lee Sin, but in this game it's what he's going for. Basing first item serrated Dirk, he's also got level 6, moving forwards a little bit to see his level 6 strategy. He's just waiting to land a Q pretty much so he can get in. As soon as that happens, the enemy is dead. You can see Conqueror into the Ignite as well. That's a kill. This is not a huge burst playstyle because of the Conqueror. He doesn't have Electrocute or anything like that, or First Strike or anything. He's not specifically an assassin with this build. He's definitely going for more of an old Lee Sin style, where you'd slowly kill enemies with auto attacks, not a one-shotting style. And honestly, in Season 12, you're gonna struggle to one-shot people with Lee Sin anyway, unless you're really far ahead. Swapping games to give you guys a bit more value out of this pick in this video. This is another game where he's basically even. He's been even the whole laning phase. You can see how this pick doesn't have to get a lead really early on. I want to show how it can still handle fights in an even laning phase. So you can see in this lane, he's managed to get straight to Dirk, also Vamp Scepter. He gets really early on because it lets him just sustain through every lane using W and then Vamp Scepter on minions. Really hard to ever die. And that's just a really simple kill. Didn't even need Ignite for it. Once he just starts to get these items, the straight up 1v1 damage is really hard to beat. And so it's still a pretty good top laner. I think that if you're going for Gore Drinker, you're really going to struggle to kill people. I think that Gore Drinker was quite good because it kept him alive for so long as a frontliner. He used to be just like the mobile frontline. You can never kill him, never pin him down. But Blem's style has always been full on damage, killing people, happy to take 1v1s in top lane. He's a classic top laner. He's not playing for his team. He's playing for the island and it works out. Back to lane, he has Eclipse now. So first item Eclipse, just for like slightly longer fights. Omnivamp pretty good on Lee Sin. His goal is obviously just to get tower. He's just poking under tower with you, trying to bait the Wukong into a fight. Knows exactly where the enemy jungler is, I assume. Otherwise he would struggle to play this aggressive. Maybe he's happy to take it. His flash is up. He could maybe take a 2v1. He could probably one-shot Twitch since he's a little bit far ahead. You can see how incredibly good his CSing is, by the way. 112 in top lane as a melee champion. I mean, usually I expect mid to be ahead. It's really, really good that he's so high up in gold because of minions specifically. Obviously he was a challenger player all those years ago, so the skills maybe are coming back a bit. Enemy roaming, so it should be free first tower. Just a lot more gold for Lee Sin. And now you know what it's like when you're playing top lane, you get a lead, you get the tower. Nothing really you can do for a little bit. You just have to keep pushing top side, then rotating around to try and help your teammates move your advantage. Lee Sin obviously very mobile, never runs out of resources, so he can stay in top lane as long as he wants. Double control wards. It's something that I think is really good on Lee Sin. He's my most played champion actually, so it's really cool to see someone still being able to play him in lane. I'd always recommend double control wards every time you base, at least from probably like 10 minutes onwards. You do spend quite a lot of gold on it, but it also basically unlocks your kit, and so it's worth it. It levels you up as a champion. I see in the past it was like Wardstone, people would spend something like 800, 1000 gold on just to get warding items, and that was like pro players were like, hell yeah, this is really good value. Nowadays you spend like 150 gold on wards at most when you base. You could do that like 5 times for the same amount of value and still be spending less money than the old Wardstone. And to be fair, you can't use them as wards, so it is a bit more expensive, but it is still worth it for the gold value that you have to spend. Lee Sin also pretty good to Wukong, because I believe he can reveal the clone with his second E. He was a bit too scared to fight that though. I seem to remember Blem being a very hyper-aggressive player who would just like be happy to coin flip any play. It doesn't seem like he's like that anymore. Maybe he's grown up as a player. Who knows? So you can see he didn't push this top lane, go for a 1v1 whatsoever. Just glaring wave. It's surprising because modern League of Legends you get rewarded a lot for going for those risky plays and winning them. Old League of Legends, the safer play probably would work out more most of the time. Going for a mid lane roam, lands a good Q onto Graves. Dude, he's so patient on Lee Sin. He's waiting for his cooldowns, I think, though. He would be happy to go back in and fight this. Obviously, the margins are a lot narrower with this build. If you're playing Gore Drinker Lee Sin, if you go in, you have kick up, it's really hard for you to even die, no matter what's happening. Going for a one-shot, one combo, nice. W's away, flash W away, very safe. Or also had his wards, by the way, so could have always jumped out. Does get bursted down, unfortunately, though, by the great play by LeBlanc. By Serpent's Fang, second item, he's not cooldown boot abuser. He's a plated steel caps abuser. Pretty good for 1v1s, especially since the enemies have so much AD. Here is the value of buying control wards. Free kill that you wouldn't have gotten. That's the advantage of having control wards. If you're spending 75 gold and you use that 75 gold to get a game-winning pick, for example, obviously it's worth the 75 gold. If you use it to get a single kill, you can turn that kill into something, even just some waves and some enemy jungle. Always going to be worth it. I think the real reason why this guy specifically can still have success with Lee Sin top is just how patient he is in lane. I think that Lee Sin top was really good as like an aggressive pushing pick that could poke enemies for free using his E. And I think that since Riot nerfed the E damage, you need to play the lane a lot slower. I mean, you can see it specifically from his Vamp set to buy. He's happy to play the lane a bit slower and just like have a war of attrition against the enemy. He can lifesteal everything with his W and the Vamp Scepter. Enemies are going to lose eventually. And Lee Sin at this point with pretty much the most gold in the game, I imagine. Definitely most CS. Close to most CS. Probably most gold in the game. Almost. Viego's got more. Lee Sin at this point with basically the most gold in the game. Not quite. Second most. He's a lot more useful than he would be in a jungle. Man, he's so patient. I mean, it wouldn't have been a good idea to take that Q, but I mean, some Lee Sin players might have. You always have your W up, you know, you can always get out. He's actually like a mid-game Lee Sin player more than anything, which is not something you really see at all in the jungle especially. You are forced to play really early, really aggressive. Starting up a Baron, enemies are nowhere nearby. Should actually be quite free. I guess they can't contest it, or they just don't have time. Free Baron, enemy Wukong's bot lane. I mean, you could take teleport and split push bot lane, but if your team aren't ready to take the fight, then what's the point in having the summoner spell? I don't think Wukong has really used teleport like whatsoever this game. Just a quick kill for Lee Sin, lands the Q. They could probably keep fighting this. Wukong's quite strong. No one else really is. Nope, they can't fight this. Good kick flash. I think he's still dead. Ooh, just gets away. Lee Sin, a champion that the more hours you put in, the more reward you get, the more combos you learn. Kicks into LeBlanc. Also flashes away to try and avoid some of the damage, does get away. Unless you can build up the muscle memory, this champion's really, really difficult. Once you get the muscle memory, it's all just about executing the right thing in the right situation, and if you do that, you'll win. I think Lee Sin top's quite an interesting idea, because you don't have to deal with the toxicity of being a jungler, you know, you don't have to have your teammates flaming you all the game. One problem with Lee Sin jungle, especially at the moment, is that if the enemy picks a farming jungler, which is pretty much every meta jungler, you're going to get out-farmed and you're going to get outscaled. The only way you can possibly win the game is by having a nuts early game where you like get 5 kills and use that to snowball the rest of the game. At least in top lane, however, you can actually get to mid game pretty safely. You're able to use your early power to fight in lane. We might honestly be getting to a time where at least in top or even mid could be slightly better than jungle. I'd say probably not mid. Mid is a bit low damage, but top lane potentially. At least in jungle is definitely not free LP at the moment. This build I think also probably is a good idea. Definitely higher damage than the Gordrinker build. You're more squishy, but it's kind of a necessary trade-off I think in the current meta. I don't think you can afford to go for full tank and be useless. I don't think you can afford to go for full survivability, because also your damage would be too low. You still don't really have great DPS. This is more of a DPS build than a burst build anyway, at least for Lee Sin. Dragon Soul picked up Lee Sin's team. They're going for some picks inside the jungle. Very hard for the enemies to walk out to base. Lee misses his slow, unlucky. Don't know if LeBlanc's going to come back to this. She does. W into the wall, so Lee Sin gets the kill. It's North America after all, guys. Don't expect too much. A Graves suiciding for his camp. Might just lose the game off that. Free Baron for Lee Sin. Huge arrow from downtown from Lee Sin's AD carry. Doesn't look like they're going to go for this fight though. LeBlanc's not actually dealing too much damage to him. I don't think she used her full burst. But Lee Sin basically one combos her with Sylas. Very good trade. Lee's farming has stopped for a while, but he's got lots of kills to make up for it. You can see you can see his jungler has a lot more farm than him at this point, a lot more gold. Must have been given some up. Lee Sin isn't a scaling champion, so at some point you kind of have to stop farming and try and win some fights. If he gets a 4th item, 5th item, doesn't really do anything for him. This is the only really strongest points you're going to get to. You can always like one-shot someone at this stage. I like Lee Sin top lane. I don't think it's quite as OP, and I think that the build matters a lot more, as well as the runes. A classic insect flash kick to buffer to finish off the game. Something that nowadays you could probably see down in gold elo, as it's become such commonplace. Honestly very happy to see Blem back. I hope he's gonna stream. If he is, then I'll link his stream below so you can watch him. Love to see Lee Sin being played in any lane. Top lane, not bad. And for the full runes, you can see that he's got the classic Lee Sin page of Conqueror. Also second wind, some like healing in his secondary, some tenacity for this game. It's what you need really for 1v1 fights in top lane. Can't really go for any other page. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing this updated version of a really old pick, and I'll see you next time for some new stuff.